So Turkey is getting ready to fulfill a lifelong, or better said, centuries-old need. It wants to wipe out as many Kurds as it can. And now, given what's going on in Syria, it appears it'll do just that. Turkey is amassing military equipment and forces along the border with Syria. But here is the rub. The United States openly supports the Syrian Democratic Forces, a group mostly composed of Kurds, and which has been crucial in the defeat of ISIS there. But you see, because the Syrian Democratic Forces has links to the Kurdistan Workers' Party, and Turkish President Erdogan considers it a terrorist group, they want to go after them. So what does the U.S. do in a situation like this? Do we defend the Kurds against Turkey, which is a NATO ally? Or do we let Turkey do what it must because, well, it's a NATO ally? It's a tough one. It's a tough situation to be in if you're, for example, a U.S. Secretary of State and you have to make these types of decisions. That is why we turn to a guy who has been making tough decisions his whole life. John Jordan is good enough to join us now with this story. And everything good to go? If your piece working? Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right. What do we do? What does the United States say to Turkey if Turkey goes in there and just starts blasting the hell out of every ISIS member there is, as they call them?
Well, first of all, here's a bit of good news in the world today, Rick. I don't think that's going to happen. The Turks are making a lot of noise, but basically this is positioning themselves to leverage the situation. Right now, there's talks going on between all sides where the Turks want an 18-mile buffer zone that's patrolled by Turkish troops. The Kurds are objecting to that. The Kurds don't really have a lot of leverage. But ultimately, it looks like a solution, I think, is going to be brokered here because the Turks they want to use the leverage of military force, but they don't need the collision with the United States over this. But they're using it to extract a stronger position vis-a-vis the Kurds, and they're going to get it to some degree. But it looks like I think what's going to end up happening is where there's a neutral zone, as it were, that's patrolled by Turkish troops and probably by jointly with a third-party country.
Well, this is interesting because we are saying, our country is saying, our government is saying that the Kurds are good because they helped us kick out ISIS. The Turkey is saying, no, Kurds are not good. They're just like ISIS. They're terrorists. Who's right in this argument, John?
Well, as you pointed out, this is a centuries-old discussion. The PKK, which is the Kurdish People's Party, is regarded by the Turkish government as a terrorist organization. We have long-standing relationships with both. I don't pretend to get in the middle of this centuries-old argument. Yeah. I don't understand it well enough. But at the end of the day, I think the United States is going to broker a solution because it really pays no one, the Turks nor the Kurds, to really have a military confrontation here. So a deal is likely in the offing, but maybe we'll be talking about it a week or two to see if that actually happened.
Isn't it like, I don't mean to sound discriminatory with this comment, but I'm going to say it because it's more of a historic thing. Isn't it almost within the nature of Turkey to go after Kurds? And is there any possibility that that thing is ever going to be settled, that centuries-old feud?
Oh, I don't think there's a settlement is likely in the intermediate future.
But
I think we can hope for an avoidance of a bloodbath here because one really isn't necessary. I think the parties can be separated in the interim.
Well, but the only way you can avoid it, though, is if you go in there, if you give them some kind of ultimatum or the other side, either a carrot or a stick, right? At some point, don't we have to go to them and say, look, if you do this, this will happen, or don't do this and we'll give you this, right?
Yeah, that may be happening behind the scenes so that parties can save face. But right now, they're openly in discussion right now about a demilitarized zone or a neutral zone between the two parties. That is actually on the table and being discussed. The Kurds want 5 miles, the Turks want 18, and there's disagreement about who actually patrols that area. So actually, talkings are happening now.
Thanks so much, John Jordan. As usual, interesting conversation about a very sensitive and difficult matter for the United States. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been Crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wally. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.